Brett's going to participate via phone.
Wes.
I haven't heard anything, sir.
We have a quorum. Bring this regular city council meeting to order at 6 o'clock. If you'll stand, we'll have an invocation by the Reverend Keelan Halling from the St. Paul Lutheran Church. Okay, Brother.
Good evening. Y'all join me in prayer, please. Heavenly Father, you are good and you are purposeful in all of your ways. And Father, what we ask for tonight is a blessing on this community, a blessing on the first responders, a blessing on our police and all those that serve this community. We ask a blessing as well, Lord, on this council. Help them to make good and wise decisions. We pray, Father, also that you would put your hedge of protection around this community and around the families that are represented here tonight. And Lord, help us to move forward in a way that glorifies you. And it's in Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Remain standing, we'll pledge allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 5, citizens' comments. We have two. First, Mr. Chavez Lopez.
Good evening, Council. My name is Chavez Lopez. I'm here representing the Hondo Empowerment Committee. It's 1401 14th Street. And today I want to talk about the mask mandate. You know, that this is the third time I've come up here requesting that Council, pass a mask mandate for all city employees in all city buildings because of the increase on the COVID, and it's increasing here in the county and here also in the city. And we need to be, the council, the mayor needs to be responsible and accountable, and they need to pass a mask mandate to protect all city employees. You need to protect the community and protect the children of the community by passing a mask mandate. Now, I know Abbott's order is being defied in different parts of the state by different school districts, different cities. I think the city of Hondo should pass a mask mandate for the city. Thank you.
Ms. Cowling? Pastor Cowling?
My name is Beverly Kelling, and my comments are being spoken as a private citizen. In light of Council Agenda's item number 12, stating presentation and discussion on local COVID pandemic statistics and consideration of a new city declaration, I would like to state that while I do not know the specifics of what a new city declaration it is to be considered, I presume it may have something to do with reimposing mask mandates. I have learned that it is better to say something before an issue is considered than afterwards. I would like to remind all here that on August 16th on the Facebook page Go Medina episode, Judge Shearhart stated Medina County would follow Governor Abbott's directive in not requiring mask mandates in public sectors. In an April 20th, 2021 conclusion from Stanford study, it reads as the following, quote, "The existing scientific evidence challenged the safety and efficacy of wearing face masks as preventative intervention for COVID-19. That data suggests that both medical and non-medical face masks are ineffective to block human-to-human transmissions of viral infectious disease such as SARS-CoV-2 and COVID-19, supporting against the usage of face masks. Wearing face masks have been demonstrated to have a substantial adverse psychological and physiological effects. This includes hypoxia, which is a low amount of oxygen in the blood tissue, hypercapnia, which is an excessive CO2 in the blood, shortness of breath, increased acidity and toxicity, activation of fear and stress response, rise in stress hormones, immunosuppression, fatigue, headaches, decline in cognitive performance, predisposition for viral and infectious illnesses, chronic stress, anxiety, and depression. Long-term consequences of wearing face masks can cause health deterioration, developing and progressive of chronic diseases. Governments, policymakers, and health organizations should utilize proper and scientific evidence-based approach with respect to wearing face masks. unquote. And according to a doctor at the Mayo Clinic, a face mask filters out particles larger than 0.3 microns. The coronavirus diameter is 0.12 microns. Please understand, I'm not telling people not to wear masks, but I am saying that we live in the land of the free and have the freedom to decide for ourselves. Thank you.
Moving on to item number 6, discuss and consider approving the minutes from the regular city council meeting of August the 9th, 2021. These minutes are before you tonight. Hopefully you've had a chance to review. Do we have any additions or corrections to the minutes?
I do.
Okay.
For item 7, so is it going to be automatic, Scott, that the items that were discussed in the previous work session are going to be put back on the agenda, or do we need to request them? And if we need to request it, what, email, letter, phone call, text?
What specific items are you talking about, Porky?
What specific items do I have?
Yes.
I don't have the list in front of me of what was discussed in the first work session. I didn't bring notes at the notes, but I believe I saw 2, and I can't recall what I wrote. I just
Are you
wrote
talking
myself a note
specifically
to ask.
regarding the budget, or?
No,
Okay,
no, it's not budget items.
okay.
Because it said that it was going to be on the regular agenda, and I didn't see it. That specific item, and for the life of me, I can't recall what, I did write it down, and I can't recall what it is. But
Okay.
I will email you first thing.
Which items, sir, in the minutes are?
Item number 7?
Okay,
Oh, no. No, I just wrote myself a note that if,
I think he's asking for everything that was on the agenda items in that work session.
because
in the budget work
I
session?
read that in the previous council meeting.
Oh, everything that was in the council work
I
session,
believe Councilman Villa had asked you,
right.
and you made the statement, or your response to him was, it will be placed on a regular council agenda.
That is correct, sir.
Right, so
And tonight you
I'm
have,
asking is, do we have to ask you to put it on, or is it going to
No,
happen
sir.
automatically?
no, sir, it will happen automatically. Actually, you have one of the items on your agenda this evening,
Yes, I saw
which
one.
Laura's going to address, but, yeah, they'll be on future agenda items, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
All right, thank you.
okay.
That actually is not a correction or addition to the minutes, right? Just a comment. Is there any corrections or additions to the minutes?
Sir, I move to approve, sir.
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Move on to,
Mayor, before you go into the original agenda items, I want to know why city manager's report is not on this agenda. I mean, it's been 2 weeks and there's nothing to report.
No, sir, I think I may have reported on the last council meeting, but I didn't have time this week to put anything together, but I'll make certain that I do at the next meeting.
I think that we ought to have a city manager's report on the agenda for every council
Is
meeting.
it a
Yes, sir.
standing item?
Sir?
Is it a standing item?
Yes.
I'll make sure of that, sir.
anything else, Councilman?
No.
All right, number 7, public hearing on the proposed budget for fiscal year 2021, 2022. Ms. Lazaro. If you'll explain the contents of the item, and then I'll open the public hearing.
Okay, so, good evening, Mayor, Council. We'll be opening the public hearing for the budget, proposed budget for fiscal year 2022. I put together a quick overview of the items that we went over in the work session, just as a refresher, that's contained in your proposed budget.
Open public hearing, 6:09. Anybody in the public want to address the council on the budget?
Mayor, I
Would
would
you-
prefer for Judy to move forward with her presentation first.
I thought she was through.
No, we're going to let her move
I can
forward
do
with her
a quick
presentation
PowerPoint,
first.
and it goes over all the highlights of
All
the
right,
budget.
Mr. Lopez, we'll get to
You
him.
have Mr. Lopez.
We'll get to him. We'll close the public hearing, go back to your presentation.
Okay. So just a quick overview. Our budget goals is, of course, to minimize the financial burden on residents, which we are doing by lowering the tax rate to 0.4866. no change in water or sewer rates, minimal increase in the sanitation rate, and then minimal comprehensive fee changes. You'll see the list there, which includes, of course, the 2% sanitation rate increase, removal of the reinspection fees, certificate of occupancy, an $80 fee when not associated with a building permit, fire marshal safety inspection fee, a flat $100 fee, fire code related plan and review inspection fees would be actual cost plus a 5% admin fee. Preliminary plat would be $1,000. Final plat would be $25. Those are staying the same. They're just being separated in the comprehensive fee schedule. Increase hangar rent by $5 to $175. And then additional proposed change that just came from staff within the last couple weeks is to increase the field deposit amounts to $250 from $150 to accurate.
Can we ask questions at the end?
You can ask questions now.
Whenever, sir.
On that field deposit, Scott, I believe I spoke to you back in May. The individual that leases our fields
Yes, sir.
for baseball, they're coming to Hondo because it's dirt cheap.
Yes, sir.
Last week, this individual made about $18,000.
Yes, sir.
And we're charging him, I think we charged him, what, $100, $150?
Yes, sir.
He's using city property. For example, the parking lot, and he's charging $10 to charge.
Yes, sir.
And I brought this up before. There was one of the last swimming parties, I believe, that was going to be held. And those people couldn't use the parking lot because the guy holding the night tournament said he rented it. And that if the people attending the swimming party wanted to park, had to pay him $10. Not right. Those are our taxpayers who have probably worked hard to get those fields ready for Little League. I have years ago. Councilman Vela has a few years ago. Councilman Hazer probably has, or he's on his way there. But we work hard, have worked hard in the past. Some of us still do presently. We should not be paying those $10 to utilize our own parking lot. And if we're gonna lease it out because it's dirt cheap, I wrote here $300 to $500 should be the fee.
That's a deposit.
That's a deposit. I have seen the condition of that park after their tournament, Sunday morning. That poor soul that was on call for the parks, I'll bet you he was tired.
Yes, sir.
They don't pick up after themselves. They don't. One of their guys told me, and I know him personally, Porky, we come here because it's dirt cheap. We were doing it in Uvalde, but they were charging us $1,000 a weekend. Then we went to Divine, and they were charging us $700 in Divine. So we come here and charging us $150.
Yeah, but that's not even a charge, it's the deposit.
What is the fee?
It's $150 per day for field deposit. A
It's-
field fee.
it's staff.
It's a deposit, it's not a fee.
Fee is one.
I would like to say something about this.
Go ahead, Brett.
Are y'all ready? Okay, so I've coached in a lot of these tournaments, and I would question how he made $18,000. And then I also know that when we've had parking there, the city required that the pool be open. That part of the pool. Now the softball field wouldn't be, that they would charge for that. Now I do agree with you, Porky. If the trash is bad, then we need to make sure they pay for that. If they don't clean up like they're supposed to. But you got to understand, a lot of kids in this community play in those tournaments. A lot of kids from other communities play in these tournaments. This is keeping them off the streets into trouble. It's bringing most of these people are eating at our Dairy Queen, at our restaurant.
I understand.
And
Brett.
so I don't know that this is a bad thing for Hondo.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing, I'm saying we need to charge them more.
Well, first of all, what is the fee?
Well,
Not just the deposit, what is the fee?
It's $150 per day for the field fee,
Per what?
per day.
Per day.
Per day,
Per day.
yes.
So my concern, you know, and I share my concern with Councilman Duarte, is, you know, he brought up trash, but my concern is the field. You know, we have staff out there,
We maintain
you know, putting new dirt in, you know, they're not doing that. You know, they're not helping in that cost. And so if we need to look at it to absorb some of that cost
Right.
that we're incurring,
Right.
then we need to look at it. But also, you know, yeah, I do agree, you know, maybe up that fee rental on that side, but separate it, because there are teams locally in Little League
Yes.
that practice out there, and they do rent it. They rent it for the lights, and they're, you know, and, you know, so we have to some way separate that from, you know, when I think of an organization like that one, I think commercial. You know, I think that they're a totally separate category from, you know, a local residential team or things like that. And so the cost has to be different, because we have to make it affordable for our citizens as well. But, you know, going back to the maintenance, you know, the maintenance is important. You know, there's a lot of money and not only materials, but labor that goes into maintaining those fields. And, you know, and they're not, you know, what we're charging isn't compensating the city for all that time and all the materials that we're spending. I can promise you that.
Okay.
What about the electricity charge when it's a night tournament?
Council, let me interject you real quick.
You have to pay for light.
Staff
You have to
have
pay for
talked
light.
to me about this issue, and this is a recommendation going from 150 to 250. And they agree that 1050 is probably not going to cover all the costs. I think this is an issue that we need to go back and re-examine, at least based upon the conversations that I've had with staff, and then bring a proposal back to
And
council.
we can amend it, right?
Right,
But
yes,
then-
sir.
But then again, this is a deposit you keep saying.
Yes, sir.
It's not a fee that they're getting charged. That's why they're coming to play here. Because they're getting charged $150 fee of deposit, and they're getting their deposit back.
So say they rent it, it's $300 in total, so it'd be $150 deposit, $150 fee. Yeah,
But they get the deposit back.
exactly.
But I would
I
personally like to see
I
this
still
come
think
back
that
to
is
the city
key.
council for an amendment, and that way we can take a look at it or have some
Okay.
discussion.
The only option is like the recreation does for their annual membership, you could do like a resident and a non-resident type of fee situation.
Bifurcate those out of town, like if it's truly a tournament, or if it's Little League practicing, I mean, we should give some advantage to Little League because they're local.
No, yeah,
And
this was
it's
a
not a
tournament.
profit, it's a non-profit.
This was a tournament where non-Hondo teams participated. It was a night tournament, so the lights ran all night. But you can tell when there's gonna be a tournament, because our staff, dang, that field looked beautiful. But they brought in dirt,
Yeah.
they scraped it with the lawnmower, you know, the rake. They chalked it up for them, the restrooms were immaculate, and that's not how they were Sunday, because I stopped and looked. I wanted to personally look what the condition of our property was, and it was ugly.
Porky, did you say the city, like, prepared the field for the tournament?
Yes, I did. They were doing it Friday for about 3 hours.
They chalked the field?
Yes, they did.
I don't believe that's true. I've never seen that. I've been playing out there for
They
10
pre-
years.
they
I've never
prepared-
seen the city chalk the field
There you
for any
go
tournament.
again. There you go again. In so many words, call me a liar, but I saw them.
Brett, did you say chalk the field, or?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a
I
difference.
said prepare the field, and then I said chalk the
No,
field.
they prepared the field.
They
they
prepare the
raked it,
field, they
they
chalk the
raked it.
field.
They raked it with the machinery. They made the grass look like carpet.
Are
The
we
restrooms
talking
were
about the
clean.
different things here?
No, they didn't chalk it.
It's not the tournaments, outside tournament, you're talking about the people playing in Hondo do all that, right?
They're supposed to. They're
But
supposed
for the
to.
tournaments.
They do.
No, our staff did not chalk the line, the white powder. No.
Council, can I make a recommendation? This was a last-minute change that staff had forwarded to us as far as a change of the budget and fees. I recommend that we proceed forward with this change and allow staff an opportunity to sit down and talk about how we need to proceed forward with renting the fields out for tournaments, whether it's local or outside the
Yeah,
city
let's
as
move
well.
on, but I brought this up to you in May about the small amount that we're charging.
Yes, sir.
Proceed, Judy.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, so of course, increasing that $100. Moving to the next slide. Budget goals, completion of the 14th Street Improvement Project, improvements to the wastewater treatment plant, $4 million street improvement plan, AMI water meter conversion, and then the utilization of various grants. So we have our CDBG grants, our home grant, our diesel equipment grant, USDA police vehicle grant, and then the American Rescue Plan Act grant. And then just some highlights. The total proposed budget is roughly $25 million, not including transfer expenses. Includes a new full-time airport grounds maintenance and a part-time golf course maintenance positions. Positions removed are the Assistant Public Works Director, Assistant to the City Secretary, Admin Assistant to the City Manager. This proposed budget includes a 3% cost of living, and in the revised budget, which we'll touch on later tonight, we increased that to a 4% cost of living. Utilizing the government.
Mayor, hold on a second, Judy. Mayor, on these positions removed, are we gonna discuss this now, or are we gonna discuss this on item 17?
We discussed on 17.
Okay.
Utilizing government capital for various capital purchases in the amount of $657,000. Establishment of 2 new funds, which is our general capital projects, and then the Fair Hall and Livestock Fund. Our nonprofit funding is proposed at $122,380. The revised budget will be $118,380. And the establishment of 2 new cost centers in the general fund, which is the human and resources and the information technology.
You ready for public hearing now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we open it up to 6:22 for anybody who wants to comment to the council.
Yes, good evening. My name is Joel Lopez, and I'm here representing the Hondo Empowerment Committee, and we're proposing that the city give all hourly employees, all maintenance workers and paraprofessionals a 7% across the board pay raise. And that's because everything going up, food, gasoline, clothing, healthcare. So, and that also that the city should be paying the employees hazardous pay right now because we're in the middle of a pandemic and they are essential workers. And the hazardous pay shouldn't only be paid when there's extreme weather. It should be paid right now, that whatever the city's going to be proposing to pay during hazardous weather, they should be paying them right now because of the pandemic. Also, the other thing that I wanted to talk about was the hazardous pay, the increase. Oh yes, and make sure that the city, passes the certificates of obligation to get our streets fixed. Thank you.
Have anybody else who wishes to comment? Close the public hearing at 6:24. We'll move on to item number 8, presentation and discussion regarding a preliminary concept plan requirements for a mobile food court. Ms. Robin?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for allowing me to speak on this item this evening. As you'll see, I don't have a lengthy presentation for you, and I know that you'll have a lot of items to discuss today, so I'll make it fairly brief. The item before you this evening is a discussion and briefing item to bring to your attention a unique business that is proposing to be located in the Central Business District. Our code requires a development agreement for mobile food courts, and that's what's being proposed. So I've been asked by the applicant, and I'm bringing this forward to you for some preliminary feedback regarding their very preliminary proposal, and I keep saying preliminary. at the request of the applicant. They understand that they're going to have to put together a complete package and application as well as a proposed development agreement to come back to council with a more complete and vetted proposal for y'all's official consideration. But we felt that it's important to get y'all involved as early as possible in this process to ensure that any questions, concerns, comments that council may have regarding this unique business be brought forward to the applicant during those initial discussions between staff and the applicant on preparing that application. So that being said, your background information contains some example photos that the applicant has provided staff as a concept idea, as well as an email correspondence that y'all have available that lays out their general goals for the site and things of that nature. Of course, in compiling a package for future, staff would be working with the applicant to detail parking and effect on neighboring properties and things of that nature, but wanted to open up the discussion with council if y'all would like to at this meeting, just to discuss this type of use in general in the CBD district. So I'm here to answer any questions, and if
This proposed site that these wanna take over.
yes, so this project's proposed in the area of Avenue N and 15th Street near the courthouse annex project. So it would be in the heart of downtown, a little off the main streets, but still in the heart of the CBD district.
Is that the corner?
And I assume this property is already commercial property?
Yes, the property is currently zoned Central Business District. So there's several commercial uses that are allowed in the Central Business District. Mobile food courts just happen to have additional requirements on those to ensure that they're compatible with the area, and that parking and outdoor tables and lighting and things of that nature are all taken into consideration and discussed in that development agreement negotiation.
Laura, are other vendors, I saw the name, so that question begs to be asked. Are other vendors, whether it's light business, because we have 3 in Honda right now, are other businesses with light business going to be allowed within that food court?
So it would be up to the private property owner. So their intention is to continue utilizing this as a private business area, so it wouldn't be necessarily opened up for other food vendors, but that may be something that they can add to their concept. So if that's something that's kind of the purpose of this initial discussion, if y'all would like to see more inclusion of mobile food trucks or things of that nature, then that kind of feedback can be taken back to the applicant as they're vetting their proposal.
I would, because we have established local businesses with a mobile food court. One park's over here on 30th Street, on Highway 90 by the old library. Another one parks over there by Taqueria. And those are the 2 prime spots that our third local business brought theirs back to their parking lot. We have one from Castroville that has been here for a couple of years. It parks over here across the street on the county courthouse parking lot. The shrimp truck, I believe. So we have established businesses. 3 of them, 3 of the 4 local, home-owned businesses. So we're cutting them out. I know, that last name is from Honda. Trust me, I already know. When I saw the name, Bobby told me the exact location. I know who's bringing it. But that type of business that I'm looking at here in these pictures, that's not Honda. And if you're telling me this at that parking lot, the lot on Avenue N and 15th Street, yeah, that's private property. So they're going to be using the parking available on 15th Street up to probably the community bank, I believe. because that lot doesn't have enough space for parking. So they're gonna be using our streets and probably, community state back parking, community back parking lot. I would just like to see our local businesses have that opportunity to, set something like that up.
Okay.
Or participate with them.
Great. Thank you.
I have something to say about that. So whoever owns the property should be able to put up whatever they want and not have to allow other people to come compete with them on that lot. So regardless, anybody that goes there, they're going to have to use parking from the city, whether they're from Hondo or anywhere. So if they own the property already, you can't make them let somebody else be in the same area on their property. That's all I have.
What is the city's policy on these shipping containers?
So they would have to meet all the requirements of the international building codes that we have adopted by the city. So there's some standard checkpoints and items that are reviewed by our plan reviewer. We actually discussed it a little bit with our Bureau Veritas plan reviewers, just because it is a fairly unique situation. But there's some engineering requirements that go into that to ensure that those are suitable for occupancy by a business. So it's not an absolute no, but there are quite a few checks and balances that would be required as part of ensuring that they're up to code.
Well, these look very nice, but I can see them bring this shipping container in and open it up, and, you know, surely we'd have to establish some parameters.
And that is exactly what that development agreement will lay out. So if the aesthetics of the shipping containers or any building code concerns are kind of high on that list, then we can certainly bring those up to the applicant as hot topics to consider.
How big is that property?
I would hate to tell you incorrectly, but I can look it up and
Do they have
send
a
it to you.
preliminary layout of what they're thinking about?
They do not. So they're in the real early stages. The discussion has included considerations for on-site parking, considerations for drive-through availability. So they're wanting some drive-through access for
It's a great concept.
coffee and things
It
like
really
that.
is. I think it'd be good business here in Hondo.
I appreciate you bringing it up, but you're way early, right?
Yes, and
So I think council probably is open to any plan, it just depends on what it is.
Mayor, being that we're on this subject here, like Councilman Infante mentioned, this little travel trailer, or this little trailer that parks next to the old library, do they have a permit to be there?
I would have to look at the exact trailer that you're referring to,
The
but
little
yes,
orange one in front of
there's
on the park.
solicitor and vendors permits that are required to set up those trailers, so.
And do these people, are these people supposed to be collecting sales tax? Do they have a tax ID?
So,
Who looks into all that?
so we issue solicitors and vendors permits through our city hall, through city secretary's office, and it's reviewed by our police department, and code enforcement also helps with the enforcement of those permits.
Okay, but I understand that. We have the vendors' permits and all this, but do these people actually have sales tax, license, and what they're supposed to have, or does anybody check on that, or?
So our code enforcement checks on that, as well as PD. I would have to double check on the tax ID.
The reason why I'm
requirement.
asking this, because my restaurant's closed during the week, but I get hungry during the week. So I stopped there. They didn't charge me any sales tax.
No, they don't.
And them charging sales tax, just like I do, my part of the sales tax that I charge goes to the city. And some goes to the state. And I don't think that it's fair for me to be paying state and city taxes on sales tax, and these people come and park anywhere they want, and they're not giving the city anything.
We can look into it and respond to you. I just would hate to tell you incorrectly on any particular
No,
enforcement
I
case.
know you
but-
don't have the answer to that right
but
now,
we can
but
look.
somebody needs to look into that.
Yes, sir. We'll look into it and get back with you on it.
Any other questions of Laura on that?
I heard you make the statement that when Councilman Villa asked you who checks on them, you stated the PD. Well, I don't think that our Hondo PD is qualified to check for permits and, state whatever it is that you need, state inspection. So I'm just asking. I actually asked Councilman Vela, and he agreed with me.
So in the code, it establishes two different sections of the city that are responsible for enforcement of that section of the code, and it gives that enforcement authority to both PD and the code enforcement. So that's laid out in the code that way. That section of the code applies to more than just the food trucks and those types of vendors. It also applies to our canvassers and solicitors permits. And so in that, that is very much something that PD looks out for to make sure that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, I don't want to speak for y'all, but that's something that they look for whenever people are going door to door, knocking and soliciting, to make sure that they have those permits and are properly background checked. So that section of the code covers quite a bit.
But on normal circumstances, it's code that checks on things like Councilman Villa was talking about.
Yes, I mean, they go out every now and then and do spot checks on those types
A lot
of
of
issues.
those vendors are on weekends.
Right.
We don't have any code enforcement on the weekends, correct?
That's absolutely right.
Right, I know that they've had some discussions with them on the weekends unofficially and looked into it.
Like right there in front of the auto parts, I mean, every weekend, there's different people parked there, and I always wonder, do they have a permit to be there? On the weekend, who checks these people whether they have a permit or not?
And I think that's part of the reason that that's split between PD and code enforcement, since code enforcement is typically during the week, PD has shifts all weekend, just in case
But
there is a
do they
complaint or
actually
concern.
check?
Well, the vendors and the solicitors, we can get pretty far into this, but the vendors and solicitors should be able to present a permit for you. So if at any time anyone has a question on whether or not they have a permit, they're required to have it at their vending stand at all times, so.
Hey, Laura,
I know they're required to have it, but who checks on it? Please.
Mr. Council, just to kind of help out for a little bit, Mark and I have been in communication back and forth as far as these permits. We've been seeing a lot of pop-ups, like you mentioned, on the weekend. So we communicate back and forth. They do send us copies of the permits. Once they're approved by me, they go over to the city secretary's or city manager's office.
Well, as long as they're checked, they have the permit, that's fine, I was just wondering, because my concern wasn't much. My concern was these people that sell food and stuff that aren't collecting sales tax. And when they collect sales tax, part of that sales tax comes to the city and part of it goes to the state. And if they're making their business there and not paying any taxes, I don't think that's right.
Laura, may I read you some comments from a food vendor on one of those trucks? And they're on our Facebook. With my food trailer, we have to have a permit by code enforcement. The tax we charge went through the state controller. Also, we had to have the health department come out and inspect the food trailers. That's live on Facebook. So let's just, make sure that we check them, make sure that they have that, so we won't be required on one and one on not. So let's just be across the board, let's just be even. That's all I ask. That's all we ask.
Right,
Okay, we're getting a little away from the agenda item. Do you have anything else on the agenda item?
No, sir. If y'all have any other questions, comments, please feel free to reach out to us. And we'll be meeting with this applicant to kind of give a little bit of
See what
feedback,
they come
but
up with.
I'm sure they'll be encouraged by the feedback. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 9, discuss and possible action regarding ordinance number 1244-08-21, authorizing the issuance of the city's combination tax and limited pledge revenue certificates of obligation series 2021, providing for the payment therefore by the levy of an ad valorem tax upon all taxable property within the city and by lien on and pledge of the pledged revenues of the system and other matters incident related thereto. Mr. Alvin.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We've been discussing this issue about issuing debt since May. I just want to refresh your memories that in 2020, the city hired the engineering firm Freeland and Turk to conduct a desktop assessment analysis of Hondo's existing street pavements. The result of the study led to Freeland Turk preparing a 5-year street maintenance program. The cost of that 5-year plan was estimated at roughly $26 million. This evening, you will consider an ordinance authorizing the issuance of debt in the amount of $4 million, which will be used towards improving a few of the streets outlined in the Freeland Turk's study as well. This evening, you also have Andrew Friedman with Samco Capital, who is the city's financial advisor, who will speak regarding the sale of certificate of obligations before this evening. Andrew?
Thank you very much. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. Andrew Friedman with Samco Capital Markets. Passed out just before the meeting began a small packet of information, the top page of which is the tax rate impact analysis, which if you'll remember, starting with our workshop back in, I believe that was May, considering the issuance of debt for these street projects, as Mr. Albert just alluded to. What's in front of you is the final tax rate impact analysis. This is based upon the certified taxable assessed values and is reflective of the budget that you've already reviewed, the tax rates that you plan to adopt, whereby we can issue this $4 million and maintain the INS tax rate that has been set and hit the tax rate targets that you're planning to adopt later in September. As you go through that, this will be a 20-year certificate of obligation, callable in 10 years. We negotiated with Community National Bank, also merged with Hondo National Bank, to get the interest rates that we would have gotten out in the public market based upon bond sales that we can see that have taken place out there, and then adjusted them for a lower cost of issuance and without an underwriter discount, without having to go to the rating agencies. On this one, I know we had talked about in May, as the city begins to borrow more, we want to go out and establish our credit, given that this is $4 million, that interest rates remain low, and that you've got such a great partner, active partner in the community with Community National Bank, and their ability to really match the interest rates and the ultimate debt service that we're looking to get to. Had we gone through all of those steps, we're getting the same deal that we could expect to have gotten by going through all of those extra steps and incurring those higher costs. And so with that, with your approval this evening, you would close on these certificates of obligation September 15th. We'll levy for and collect the taxes to make the first payment that'll take place February 1st, 2022. Again, on closing, we'll put $4 million into your bank account. Included behind that first page, the final numbers that detail the sources and uses of funds. Again, putting $4 million net of all costs of issuance into the city's project fund for the street projects. And then in the subsequent pages, you can see that this will amortize over 20 years at fixed interest rates and callable in 10 years without any penalty to the city. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. The final interest rate that we're locking in, we call it the true interest cost, which is roughly the average interest rate of this loan, 2.1%. When we began meeting in May, we always like to take a conservative approach, running numbers at 3% interest. So a combination of conservative planning and a favorable interest rate market have led us to be able to lock in very, very good interest rates. So with that, I turn it over to you all for any questions.
Fixed for 10 years?
I'm sorry?
Fixed for 10 years?
No, it's fixed for the full 20 years. And what we callable, we can take them from the investor without penalty after 10 years. So if interest rates are low enough 10 years from now, we could refinance them. Or if we've got a bunch of money accumulated in our INS fund or other available sources, we could always pay it off, given how low the rates are. We probably wouldn't want to do that 10 years from now, but we have the option to.
It's been a long time since I dealt with COs. Don't we have to have a public hearing on these?
We adopted a notice of intention resolution about 2 months ago. That notice ran in the paper for 2 consecutive weeks. It was also published on your website consecutively from the time it was posted all the way until now, notifying the public of that. And then this will be your first and final reading to pass these COs. So it's not subject to a public hearing. Clay Benford, your bond attorney with McCall Parkhurst, is here. Before I start playing armchair attorney in his presence, I'll let him chime in with any of the legalese that I inevitably will miss.
Before you get off, what is that interest rate again, 2.1?
2.10%, yes, sir. And if you look at the third page in this attachment, the bond pricing, you can see the middle of the page, there's the coupons. That's the rate that we are going to pay the investor for those. To the right of that, you can see the yields. And so we're paid a premium for these bonds because the corresponding yields in any of those 20 years is lower than that coupon rate. And that's what brings that, you would otherwise say 3%, it's what blends it down to about a 2.1% interest rate. You're welcome.
And as Mr. Friedman said, Clay Benford representing the city's bond counsel. You have, Mayor, you're correct in that there is a process for this, and it's as Mr. Friedman described. The reason for that publication and posting of notice is to provide the citizens an opportunity to petition, which is what is included in the statute, that if anybody would like to require that the city first conduct an election before approval of the ordinances before you tonight, it requires that during the 45-day period of notice of publication, to provide a petition with at least 5% of the electorate, which would be presented to you tonight if there were such a thing, and that would preclude you from adopting the ordinance until an election was conducted on the matter. Having to my knowledge, no existence of a petition and nobody here to deliver one tonight, you're authorized to proceed with the approval. On the basis of that approval, you would accept the interest rates that have been presented to you tonight. Those are fixed through the duration of the debt over 20 years. We would take that transcript and documentation and prepare and submit that to the Attorney General's office, receiving their validity opinion as a condition to closing, which would happen on September 22nd.
So that probably takes the place of a public hearing, those notices, right?
Yes, sir.
And where were these publications done again?
They were in the Hondo Anvil Herald, as well as posted on the city's website for the duration of the time from when we first approved the notice of intention resolution.
Any other questions, these gentlemen? Thank you all.
Welcome.
Council, you've heard the item. Do we have a motion?
So moved, Mayor, I move to approve ordinance 1244-08-21.
We have a second for that. Further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Against, same sign. Hear none. Motion carried. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. And I do typically have a stack of documents that I bring with me tonight, but I ran out of my office and left them sitting on my desk, so I will have them run over in the morning for your attention. You can have those signed and get back to me over the next couple of weeks. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Item number 10, as you received a memo from me, and it was in the package this week, we have 2 members of our volunteer boards that recently submitted resignations from their appointed positions. These are Mr. Bobby Ainsley, a member and chairman of the City of Honolulu Economic Development Board of Directors, and Ms. Bonnie Eason, a member of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. To replace Mr. Ainsley and complete his 2-year term, which expires in April of 2022, I recommend the appointment of Mr. Brett Riff, who is a Hondo native and a Vice President of Lending Strategic Management for Capital Farm Credit. We have not in the past had an EDC board member with extensive knowledge of agriculture, and this will help in rounding out the representation on that board. To replace Ms. Eason on the Parks and Recreation Board, I recommend Ms. Julie Mendoza. She's presently president of the Hondo Soccer League. Ms. Mendoza is employed by the Medina Regional Hospital in the surgery department, and this is one area of our recreation. We have it covered by the board, and if approved, she will fill out Mrs. Eason's term, which expires in February 2004. These are my recommendations for those 2 positions.
And they're willing to serve.
Yes.
Make a motion that your recommendations be approved, Mayor.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Against, motion carries. Number 11, discuss and consider dissolving the council committee for recommending usage of the American Rescue Funds. As y'all remember, several months ago, we put together a council committee to work with the city manager on the usage of these funds. There hadn't been a meeting of the group. Recently, we've tried to have meetings and haven't been able to get all three members of the council committee, which is Mr. Heiser, Mr. Utarte, and myself. So I think it'd be best just to consider dissolving this committee and having this recommending usage of these funds be done by the whole council, either next meeting or whenever it can be planned, rather than just three of us be involved and having the trouble with the meeting. So that is my recommendation. And I've talked to the two individuals, and they both agree that that's probably the way we ought to go.
Yes, sir.
Mayor,
Well,
I second it, and that we put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
Okay, and we have a motion and a second. Discussion, you had a question?
I forgot what it was.
All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Against, same sign, motion carries. Item number 12,
Well, I know it, and we have received the funds already, right?
today evidently,
Today.
according to Judy, $1,169,000.
So that's gonna be at the next council meeting too.
We'll ask the city manager to place that on the agenda for the next meeting. Item number 12, presentation and discussion on the local COVID pandemic statistics and consideration of a new city declaration. You have in front of you today a memo from Patricia Melcher, who is our health unit supervisor here in County Health Wise here in Medina County and Hondo. And just to show a few brief items, today the COVID case count is 257, and she mentions that the vaccine is available for people to take their shots. Also, Johnson & Johnson has not been approved for an additional dose at this time. The additional dose would include people with various immune problems. Going to the second page, so far in Medina County, 49.52% of the age 12 and older have been vaccinated. The Texas total is 55.42. The active cases, like I said, 257 up from 242 last week, and so far we've had 121 fatalities, up from 117 last week. I place this on the agenda because of concerns that I have and some people in the community do about the city's stance on this. It is correct that the governor issued an order that we could not mandate the wearing of masks, and as our lady mentioned earlier, there's a lot of county, city schools that have overturned this and gone ahead and issued mandates. There was an article today from Pfizer, which I don't quite understand, since they passed that their vaccine is 95% whatever good, that takes away the mandate of the governor. And I don't understand all that, but that's just what I read today. So my quest tonight is to find out how y'all feel about a mandate. And number two, I would suggest maybe that the city go ahead and go back to some of the precautions we were making back a couple of months ago with our city facilities. But that's up to the council as far as how y'all feel.
I have something to say about that. I'll try to make it quick.
I don't
You know, like you said, Mayor, Executive Order GA 38 prohibits governmental entities and officials from mandating mask or vaccine. This order has the force and effect of state law and supersedes local rules and regulations. This is from the Texas Attorney General's website. Some people are vaccinated. Some have already had COVID, have natural antibodies. Some still remain at extremely low risk. I think the citizens of Hondo are more than capable of making the best decision that fits their situation. I don't think they need politicians at any level telling them what is best for their family. And on top of that, it's illegal. So I completely oppose that.
Other council members?
I agree. I think it's personal responsibility. It should be up to every individual to make their own choice until the governor makes a mandate to mandate the masks across the state.
But the thing is, the governor's never gonna mandate that. That's the way he was before, and that's the way he is now.
I would like to
And
see it in our buildings.
Go ahead, John.
and the way that cases are increasing right now, I kind of agree with the mayor. Even if we don't city mandate, we ought to mandate at least the city facilities and go back to the precautions that we were taking, you know, that were taken off already. That's my opinion on the,
I
Just
agree
on
with-
city-
I agree with Councilman Villa. For me, we can't force the people to wear masks. That's their own judgment, that's their own call. Some of them that don't wear them are getting sick. Some of them that don't care to wear them are dying. Right here in Hondo. We don't have to go to San Antonio. But that's your choice. If you don't want to wear it, run the risk, run the gamut. I would choose to wear one. My grandchildren will wear one. If anything, we should protect our facilities. We can't force the people out in the public to wear them, Mayor. That has to come from the judge. And he's not gonna go against the governor. But we should protect our facilities. We can. As a governing group of our city, we can protect our facilities. Those that choose not to wear it, don't wear it. In our facility, wear it.
I have one more thing to say. I do agree that people should wear them personally, but I just don't believe in anybody mandating them. Just like the citizens of Hondo, I also think the employees of Hondo are also smart enough to make their own judgment on that, and especially if they work outside. I mean, there's times, you know,